Hello, my name is Jeff Mann, and I'm making this video to talk about my own experiences with some health issues in the hopes that maybe this will be helpful for other people. I've found that people who make it through a difficult time in their life through some sort of sickness or illness or medical problem, once they make it through, often think, I wish I had known such and such earlier, and if I could help someone else realize something along those lines, then that would be great. If I could help someone avoid the difficulties I had to deal with, I'd be happy to do that. So that's why I'm making this video, in the hopes that maybe someone out there who's dealing with something comparable to what I had to deal with may find this useful, and it may help them get better treatment and make it through a difficult time more quickly. I'm not making this video looking for any sympathy. I'm fine. I'm really in good health. And so while things weren't always fine, I'm not looking for sympathy because my life is currently pretty darn good, and I'm not complaining. And I'm also not selling anything. I've got nothing to sell. I just want to make this in case it helps someone else. So the problem that I had, it was hitting me when I was 48 years old. That's when it really, around my 48th birthday is when things started to take a pretty serious dip. Now, 6 years before that, when I was around 42, I developed severe muscle pain and tightness that was associated with diet. And that was a big problem, but I worked my way through that, realizing I had a sensitivity to nitrates and nitrites and sulfites in my diet and in our water supply. And once I eliminated that, then that really helped my physical condition a lot previously when I was around 42. So if anybody is having medical issues of pain, neuralgia, muscle tightness and pain, and you can't find a cure, or the doctors aren't any help, it could be diet related, and I'd start off looking at common problems like nitrates and nitrites and sulfites. But then what happened when I was about 48 is I was still off all those dietary difficulties, and my health started going down, and I started having increased pain in my body once again. And so I thought it was dietary linked, and so I started trying to figure out what new sensitivity had I developed, and so I went through all these things trying to find out what it was in my diet. I went through a what do you call that? A elimination diet, right, where you try to eliminate anything and then slowly build back in. And that was probably a good idea. It wasn't actually what helped me in this case. And that's a tough thing to do, but it can be helpful for some people. But that was not helpful for me. And my health just kept going slowly down, down, down. And so what I was experiencing for the most part was muscle pain throughout my body, also muscle weakness. For me, it was mostly in my limbs. It wasn't in my torso, which I'm told is unusual. But that's where it was mostly centered, in addition to in my lower abdomen. I had some pain there as well. And it felt like I had, strained a muscle, or if I had, as if the day before I had worked out really hard, and that's what I felt like every day, was that the day before I had worked out really hard and my muscles were just really sore and tight. And it continued to go downhill. And so then I started having it more acutely in my hands and my feet to a lesser degree. And my hands slowly, in addition to the pain, I had this neurological weakness, and it got to be so bad that I couldn't even open and close my hands. When I would drive in the morning to school, I couldn't grip the steering wheel. I had to stick my hands in between the steering wheel and the cross piece so that I could turn the wheel. And so I couldn't even open and close my hands. And so that got to be really pretty severe. And walking, I was always walking with a limp, and people asked me what was wrong. And because it was a noticeable limp from the pain, largely in my ankles and my legs, and when I was walking. In addition to that, I had some sensitive points. These were just random points on my body. For me, it was on my one kneecap, where if I just brushed it lightly, it sent a sharp pain, as if I had just pricked it with a pin. And so I had some of that as well. And that was bad enough, but then I realized that I was developing depression. And for those of you unfamiliar with depression, depression isn't that you're feeling sad. It was much more apathy. It's just that you don't care. You just don't care about anything. The joy is just sort of removed from life. You can look at things that you know should make you happy, like cute puppies playing in a field, and there's just no emotional reaction. And I realized that this was slowly taking hold. Also fatigue. I would very easily just tire out. I teach for a living, and after an hour lecture, I would just be mentally exhausted and go back to my office and just have to sit there in the chair and do nothing for a little while. I also experienced something called brain fog, where my brain just wasn't functioning clearly. For the most part, I didn't really even notice this until I would have a moment of clarity, and then I'd think, wow, that's what mental clarity is like. I forgot what that was like. And then it would resume back into this brain fog, and I wouldn't even know if I was having it. I'd have to ask my wife, and she would tell me, "Yeah, you're not operating at full speed." And I also then would have periods of emotionalism where I would just feel very emotional, and not in a good way. I would just feel like crying. Right? I would be so frustrated with the whole situation. I felt like I couldn't control my emotions. So this was all very difficult, very troubling, and all compounded together was really miserable. It reached its low point on December 25th of, what was that, 2018? And I had been to doctors. I'd been to doctors about the pain in my hands and in my shoulders, and they didn't find anything. There was nothing there. I'd been to other doctors. I saw a rheumatologist who should have been able to pick up on this, but didn't look at it at all, and just said, "You're getting older." And then finally, I just did a lot of my own research. I did huge amounts of research online, looking up symptoms. Sure, I had this fatal disease or that fatal disease, and I didn't. And finally, what I ended up doing was I spoke to a family doctor about Cymbalta, which is an antidepressant, which also can help with with fibromyalgia, which is what I believed that I had. And I thought I had all sorts of different things along the way. And I had been told you don't have fibromyalgia. But I asked about Cymbalta, and I went on that, and that usually takes a while to kick in. Again, I was in an unusual case in that 5 hours after I took my first dose, I felt significantly better, and I almost immediately had improvements in my mental state. And my physical state for a little while improved and then sort of settled back where it was. Shortly thereafter, I started a medicine called gabapentin, and that's to deal with neurological pain. And I'm very fortunate that after slowly ramping up the dosage to the encouraged level, it took me about 6, 8, 10 months. But things slowly improved until now I'm symptom-free. And so that's been great, but I'm not a typical case in a lot of ways. So what I'd say is, if any of this sounds like it could be what you're dealing with or someone you know is dealing with, look at food, look at diet, especially things that can often trigger sensitivities like nitrates, nitrites, and sulfites. And if it doesn't seem to be diet, fibromyalgia is associated with women, and men don't get it that often. At least that's what I'm told. So it is a little bit unusual, I guess. And it's possible that this was triggered by me getting Lyme's disease. I'm not sure. But these medications did help, and for me, they were utterly life-changing. And so maybe that might be helpful for you as well. Yeah, I think that's all I really wanted to say. If any of you know me and have questions, feel free to reach out. If I can be helpful, I'm more than happy to do what I can. And if any of this encourages you to look into certain possibilities. And I would say, especially for guys, I had one friend who offered this insight. She said, yeah, women are known for getting fibromyalgia more often, right? This unexplainable neurologically based pain and depression and brain fog. But there may be a lot of guys out there who have it, and I'm just going to tough it out. I'm not going to see a doctor. I'm just going to deal with it. It never gets diagnosed, and some of them, they blow their brains out because it is utterly miserable. But if you're in that situation, there is hope. Things can get better, and you might want to look into some of these directions as you're doing your own research. So that's it. If this is helpful to anyone, or you come across someone at some point who might have symptoms like this and you want to share this video, great. If one person gets spared some of this, a couple months of doing research and that it cuts short their time struggling with this, then I'm happy I made this video. So that's it. Thank you. Be safe. Have a good day. I love you.